I know we've been talking a lot about digital stuff this morning. I thought I would come in with a little bit of the analog discussion and share a little bit of a story that we've been going through with an internal cultural transformation around our guest experience and what we're doing with our consumers today. Do we have any Golden Knights fans in the room, by the way? Any new NHL, Las Vegas Golden Knights fans? We're going to the Stanley Cup, so just had to recognize that. So, what did you say? We saw how well that worked out this year. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the journey that we've been going on as MGM Resorts International. A lot of folks, when they hear MGM, by the way, just think of the big green building. I can't tell you how many times I have to inform folks that we have over 27 different brands globally that we oversee. So properties in Macau, Sanya, China. We're expanding into Dubai here very soon. Hopefully, if Japan gets legislation legalized here very soon, we're hoping to land there as well. We've got 15 properties on the Las Vegas Strip. So when you start thinking about Las Vegas in general, we'll go through a little history lesson. I think this will be quite fun for you. There's about 151,000 rooms in Las Vegas today. So a lot of product, a lot of competition. Some of our competition is in the room today. We had lunch, it's all good. So if you just look at the history of Las Vegas, it's a pretty fascinating story. So going back to the 1970s, the amount of visitors from 7 million to 2016, over 42 million, it's been quite an evolution of growth, and it's happened very quickly. And if you look at the number of rooms and how that's grown over time, what's fascinating is the gaming revenue. So Vegas really started as a gaming institution. And I will tell you that whole business model is completely flipped today. So what used to be a very gaming-centric business model is no more. And I'll tell you a little bit of that story now. I'm going to take you back to the 30s and 40s of the history of Las Vegas. This is where gaming got legalized. So the Frontier Casino was the first casino in Las Vegas. Those of you that have been to Vegas, I'm talking more of the Fremont Street area. It looks very different today than it did then. This is a big boom in the 30s, really because the Hoover Dam was being built. So if you think about folks are relocating to the area, they're building the Hoover Dam, gaming really got its foot because they got done working at the dam, no one had anything to do. So people were frankly bored. So this is where the casino boom really was created, was the amount of work and workers that had nothing to do to create some entertainment for folks to have some fun. The Flamingo opened, moving into the 50s and 60s. This whole momentum of building casinos continued to grow. Probably the most iconic era of Las Vegas, the 50s and 60s with the Rat Pack. I got to sit down with Wayne Newton last week and hear some of the stories of these guys, and it's fantastic, the history that still lives today. But this is where you saw a lot of the growth with the Tropicana, the Sahara, some properties which don't exist anymore. Again, all creating entertainment. 50s and 60s, interesting story about Vegas is that's where desegregation actually started in Las Vegas, was Sammy Davis Jr. was performing at the Tropicana, and they weren't going to let him perform with the rest of the Rat Pack. And it was Frank Sinatra who really desegregated Las Vegas and said, none of us will perform if Sammy can't perform with us. So really cool, just historical element there as well. 70s and 80s, explosive growth in Las Vegas. This is where the first MGM Grand was built. Kirk Kerkorian was our founder. This is the old Bally's, or what Bally's is today, was the first MGM Grand, if you did not know that. There was a minor incident that occurred with some flames and smoke. That's why we're in the new green building. We don't like to talk about that. But even back in its day, if you think about the MGM Grand when it was in its old building, gold chandeliers, over-the-top crystals, just abundance. And it was really to compete with Caesar's Palace at the time, which was completely over the top in its day as well. Start moving forward. This was also the days, this was our marketing campaign, by the way, in the 70s. This is 99-cent shrimp cocktail. This is all it took to get people in the door. You build it and they will come. Free shrimp cocktail, they're in your door. This is also interesting. Lines of credit, if you were going to ask for a line of credit in the casino, we didn't have all the modern technology that we have today. Our process was simply looking at the quality of your shoes to determine if we felt like you were going to pay us back or not. So this is old school Vegas credit line right here. Not making this up. So let's move into the late 80s, early 90s. This is where modern Las Vegas really started to become what it is. Starting with the Mirage back in '89, really the first resort of its type, and then significant boom. You got the Excalibur, Treasure Island, Luxor, the new MGM Grand in '93. Each resort that was built after or previous, they tried to outdo the previous property. So make it bigger, make it look different, make it sexier, make it more unique. That's why we have castles and pyramids and all sorts of stuff on the Strip. Again, moving through Monte Carlo, New York. I got some of our competitors up here. Again, just so you can see the level of boom that occurred in the 80s and 90s. So MGM Resorts really built over mergers and acquisitions over a significant amount of time. So we acquired many properties through this time. Yes, if you're wondering, this is a picture of our Bellagio surveillance room. It's real. People are gambling like crazy, so what did we have to do? We had to watch every penny, watch what money's moving on the floor. Yes, we run our own airline. We've got at least 8 jets that we run out of Las Vegas, including a 737 Boeing business jet. If you've ever had the pleasure of flying in one of those, it is a flying hotel suite. 3 bedrooms on that plane. It is unbelievable. So again, over the top, abundance. We're flying high rollers from China, where else, back and forth. Then something happened. Oh, this is our mansion, by the way, as well. If anyone's ever, a lot of folks don't get to see this. This is the mansion at MGM Grand, very exclusive, probably our highest end room product that we offer. All the celebrities and folks stay there that are performing on the Strip. Gorgeous product. But then we had 2008, 2009. We all know what happened then. Very difficult time. I was with Disney at the time when this started happening. Our company laid off about 9,000 people, and our stock went from 90s to under $2. Massive impact to our organization. At that exact same time, this was being built. So if you've seen Las Vegas, this is City Center. So Aria, Vdara, the Mandarin Oriental, Veer Towers, Crystals, that whole complex was under construction. Probably not a good time for what was happening there. This is City Center today. So obviously we got it built. But if you actually go back to the story when this was happening, there were helicopters flying around this campus. The gates and fencing had been installed, waiting for the news that our company had signed bankruptcy paperwork. So the news choppers were just waiting for the signal that it was happening. Thankfully, it didn't happen. We got our way out of that. We opened the property. But I'll tell you, we learned a lot of lessons through that process. People were not as forgiving with their discretionary income as they were before. People weren't willing to spend it on a gaming table. We had to understand, how do we connect with people to really impact what they're looking for, but also drive our bottom line and come out of this on top. So this is where we had to start thinking a bit differently. We had to think smarter about our business and the experiences that we then created. We went through an exercise and really studied what's happening culturally. So if you think about it, everything is centered around entertainment today. Zumba. Does anyone do Soul Cycle? A few of you, crazy people in the back of the room. If you've never done Soul Cycle, it is worth one trip and you'll never do it again. Shopping has become entertainment, right? QVC, it's entertaining experience. Fitness has now become fun and entertaining. What used to be a 5K, 10 years ago, you could go run in the park, now we're throwing colored packets at each other and blowing bubbles and water runs and whatever. Then you've got the Kardashians, reality television. Again, everyone's immersed in drama and entertainment. So understanding that this cultural evolution has really changed the mind of consumers, we had to go out with a different message, and we had to create a better level of connectivity with our guests. So we want to understand, people aren't going to be gaming as much as they were. How do we re-diversify ourselves? And how do we take 27 different brands, by the way, who have all had their own entity and their own story, together under one umbrella to create a powerhouse that can create experiences? Because we also know our guests will stay at 3 or 4 different properties, so they'll bounce around 3 or 4 different properties while they're with us. Let's capitalize on that, make sure they're having a consistent experience with our greater brand at the end of the day as well. So we had to really do some work around our brand and having a clear purpose of who we are and what we were doing. And you'll see how this ties into the experience integration here in a moment. When you look at it from a marketing lens, successful brands who have greater meaning actually are more successful at the end of the day. So Dove soap. Does anyone know what Dove's kind of North Star is? It's creating and building confidence in women. That is their North Star. That is what they are out there to do. Nike, it's all about there's an athlete in everybody, right? Doesn't matter your skill set, there's a way, right? So these brands that have true meaning to who they are and what they do a lot better at the end of the day. So much so that 73% of brands believe that they have a strong identity in the world, and brands with strong purpose actually also drive more employee engagement and delivering on that brand promise at the end of the day as well. Their employees know what that is and what it means and why it's important. So we went back, we recreated our core belief, our core purpose. We believe that entertainment is a fundamental human need. You need to be entertained. No one's sitting around saying, I want to be bored today. So we really wanted to capitalize on this. We're going to do that by engaging, entertaining, and inspiring our guests. And lastly, why are we going to do it? We simply want to put more wow into the human race. We want more people going and saying wow throughout various touch points and experiences, no matter what you are or how you're engaging with us. Because frankly, what you don't see up here, and I didn't put this slide in, we're also operating T-Mobile Arena. We've got 3 or 4 different arenas in Las Vegas. We are no longer a hotel company, we are an entertainment company. So we had to create a new manifesto. Our new North Star is an organization to really hit home that fact that, listen, it's not just about gaming anymore, it's about the experience. And take a look at this. This is our new North Star. I think I've seen that about 700 times now, and I still get chills and goosebumps. And hopefully you've seen that on television now, by the way, because this has been fully launched. So if you're watching any of the NHL hockey going on, you should be seeing this on TV. If you're not, please let me know, because we'll have to do some work with media. But I'll tell you, a lot of brands, once we defined our North Star, we had to understand how do we make sure our internal team members understand what this is and what it means before we go out to the world at large. A lot of organizations would get excited about something like this and go live with it, throw it out there to the world without spending the time to build the internal culture around the brand and the experience that our consumers are now looking to provide. They just don't take the time to do that well. So we knew we were going to do something different. We were going to spend the time to train, and I know it said 72,000, we're up to 78,000 employees now, so that every organization or every individual in our organization knows how they add value or how they create this for a consumer at every touch point in any of our properties. Front of house, back of house, corporate, doesn't matter. We wanted everyone to be fully engaged in what this looked like. So how did we do this? This was crazy. I still have jet lag over all the trips to make this happen. But we took our entire senior leadership team on the road. I mean, we've got properties everywhere. Our chairman delivered this message to every property across our entire portfolio personally. So it started from the top, which was critical. We had to redefine our service culture. Every property, we had 27 different hotels, all with their own set of service standards, expectations. Big deal. We had to get everyone under the same umbrella. We then had to go train every employee. And we also decided, listen, we could easily go get all of our HR teams out there to go facilitate training on guest service. But is that going to change the culture? Is a front desk agent who's worked in hospitality for how many years going to listen to an HR trainer sit there and tell them why they have to think differently about service? No. So what did we do? We actually trained all of our executives to be facilitators, to be trainers. We had our operations vice presidents acting as the facilitator for training. Because now they're seeing the person who's going to hold them accountable to delivering the experience, delivering the message themselves. It was a very powerful statement. Also then building reinforcement accountability. And frankly, something that should be very, very simple is empowering our employees to be the heroes for each of our guests. We have policies in our company up until about 3 weeks ago that said empowerment, and it frankly listed everything that an employee was not allowed to do for a consumer. We've completely flipped that script, and as of 2 weeks ago, we just got done training 7,000 managers in our organization, where we're now rolling out a program where they can provide compensation to any guest at any time with no questions asked, without approval of their supervisor, and frankly, their supervisor is going to say, "Great job," instead of saying, "Why did you do that?" And I will tell you, this is a big, big deal. And then we're going to start training our frontline next week. All 78,000 men and women of our company will have empowerment tools in their pocket to be able to do something, including our corporate counterparts who walk into our properties and hear guests at Starbucks complain about something. They're going to be able to provide a complimentary to that guest as well. Big deal. So these are our new service standards across the company. Pretty simple. We connected it to the brand. We didn't want to create a new set of service standards that you've got to go memorize while we're trying to get this message out. We said, listen, show's here, it's here to stay. Why not really rally the troops around this? So we just whittled it down to the most simple, basic things that any consumer is looking for at any touch point during their experience, right? They want that warm greeting. They want someone to listen. They want someone to take care of it. And frankly, they want something to say, wow, that was awesome. So some of our properties used to have upwards of 20 different service standards they had to hit at some point in time. We've narrowed it down to the 4 most important that, frankly, there's no excuse why you shouldn't integrate this in every touch point in some way, somehow. So here's our chairman actually leading one of our training sessions as we went on the road. So again, we hit new leadership expectations for all of our managers, service expectations. This was awesome. We took a selfie in Beau Rivage. This is Biloxi, Mississippi. And our chairman, we didn't trust him with the remote on the selfie stick. So you see me there to the left by his elbow clicking the remote on his phone. It's all good. So here's some pictures, a couple pictures of some of the training sessions. So this is actually the first time in Las Vegas when we pulled managers from cross properties together to actually talk and connect and collaborate. And it's been really interesting since we've done that. Some of the stories we've now seen about departments and properties reaching out to each other to help create more wow moments or create these experiences that traditionally would have been done in a silo. This isn't rocket science. This is easy stuff, but simply activating this to the level we did, we're pretty proud of it. Here's some of our HR team having some fun with the photo ops. This is probably my favorite part of the whole exercise of our culture journey. We also decided we've got to give a new look and feel to our back-of-house teams, engage our employees in a new way that we never have before. This is the first time, so this is actually a sample of some of our new back-of-house imagery that we've put up at every property. It's the first time we've actually had an employee from every property in our portfolio together in the same picture. Traditionally, if you worked at Bellagio, you were only allowed to have pictures of Bellagio at Bellagio. Same with Circus Circus. And we said, listen, if we're really going to go out with this show concept and this message that we're all here together, we've got to do something different. So these are security officers, representative of each of our properties. We just got done, and we wanted to do something kind of cool, too. We took a lot of inspiration from fashion magazines. We wanted to do something where it's not people just standing in a circle holding hands, right? A typical employee engagement picture. We took some inspiration. We wanted to do something a little more upscale. I don't have the picture with me, but we just did one with cocktail waitresses across our entire company. And I will tell you, it looks like a cover of GQ. It is really, really cool. And employees love it. It's just a new way. Now they can see their peers up there. It's really, really cool. We also went out with a campaign of "This is my stage." So when you start thinking about the employee value proposition and how they bring this to life in their independent roles, we went out and photographed folks in their work environments, right? A dealer, table's your stage, create the show. All right, a housekeeper, the room's your stage. You get to create that show. And I will tell you, this has done wonders for really engaging our employees and, again, making sure they understand the value proposition and how they do that at the end of the day. Lastly, this is just integrating this into everything we do is important. So everything from setting up metrics to scorecards to toolkits to make sure that the message gets communicated consistently. All of our KPIs, everything we're doing as an organization now centers around this. And again, that's very new for us. Typically, whatever the flavor of the month was, typically would be what we focused on. But now we have a universal rally cry that's really driving the entire organization. And I think it's doing wonders for our organization and as we continue to move forward. Leave time for questions so I don't eat up the rest of the 5 minutes. I'm done with the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for taking us to Vegas for these 5 minutes.
And sorry we went quick. They said you have 36 slides and you have 30 minutes. I'm like, we're going to get through it.
You got it done in 20 minutes. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed, so I'll leave it to our audience to ask a lot of questions. So I had complaints after lunch.
So being a former Disney alum, I saw some similarities to Disney. But Disney has a built-in culture. Where are you on that journey of culture, and do you believe that the culture was already set, or did you have to do some work to get that culture to get where you're moving towards?
Really great question. I'm glad you could see the Disney underling. That was really important. We had to really rebuild the culture, honestly. When you started thinking about just, the properties working independently, that was a barrier we had to break down. When you started thinking about the processes and how we've not set our team members up for success, those were barriers we had to break down. So frankly, I think we ultimately made a decision that, listen, we're not seeing our satisfaction scores go up, we're not seeing our friendliness scores go up, we're not seeing change. We've got to do something different, and we ripped the Band-Aid off of a kind of whole exercise to do it holistically. And I think we did the right thing by trying to tackle everything at the same time versus try to do this in phases. I don't think the greater connectivity would have stuck as it has now, the way we've done it just kind of all together. So leaders getting new expectations on what it means to be a manager, engaging your employees, 100% a part of that as well. That was a critical element in the process.
Actually, I have a big voice. Hi, Craig. It's McConaughey from Air Canada. So I would like to know, this is a big powwow, amazing 70,000 people that are getting trained. What's your sustainable plan after that to make sure that they keep engaged and keep delivering on that mission and that vision? Great question.
So the training, what you saw, the big powwows and stuff, that's about a year old now. So we're about a year into this journey, and very, very exciting. We've done a lot of work to ensure that managers are actually spending time on the floor, We've created processes for them to go out and observe their team members to make sure that they're delivering on these experiences. We have a whole internal QA process that we've executed where we're actually going in and shopping each of our properties, looking for these key elements. But frankly, we also have gone in and made sure that any messaging that goes out throughout the company's channels to our employees, whatnot, is 100% aligned to this, and it's only this. So we've also made sure that we're not going to also beat our employees out with 100 different messages of expectations, and that's very easy to do, by the way, when you have competing priorities of different departments in a corporate environment. But we got everybody to agree that this is the most important thing that we will ever do right now. And this is the focus. So we've got and by the way, everyone's bonuses and KPIs are now directly tied to this being successful. So there's some motivation from a incentive standpoint to keep it alive.
Now that you said bonuses and compensation, I'm with you. It's a big investment, and I mean, JetBlue, by the way, my leadership is super passionate about this too. What I'm curious about is when you started, was that a business case of, hey guys, we're gonna die if we don't change? Or do you have a CFO that says, I need a return and you have that many years to get there? Thanks.
Great question. By the way, we need to get your business card because my boss is now a raving JetBlue fan. She has stopped flying Delta and is now in your Mint product. So hats off to you guys for changing her loyalty. I think the brand aspect of this from the external brand was certainly we needed to do something different, and we'd never had a brand that covered the entire company. Everything had been marketed individually. So you only saw advertisements or commercials for Bellagio. You never saw something for the greater parent company. So the business case for that standpoint was we need an identity for the entire organization, and that's where that began. When you think about the amount of money that it took to invest internally on the internal cultural standpoint, that was certainly inspired by looking at our employee engagement scores, our guest service scores, and frankly, if we knew we were going to go out with a new message, now's the time to do something. And frankly, there are people who are usually very financially focused who were very willingly able to step back and say, yeah, the amount of money it's going to take to train these people is going to be well worth it at the end of the day. And frankly, we didn't have to go build an ROI on it. I think it was crystal clear when we do this well what the outcome will be. And it's proven to be successful thus far.
That was a great presentation. Thank you. You said you're about a year into it now. Mm-hmm. What are your learnings so far? What would you have done differently? And have you seen the needle move already, not only in customer satisfaction, but in room nights and ADR, all of that? RevPAR index.
Great question. If we were to do it differently, I think our opportunity was to create greater alignment up front around the sustainability and the reinforcement strategy versus having some of those teams trying to figure that out after the case. A lot of effort went into figuring out the training and whatnot, and we knew that there had to be strong reinforcement, but I probably would have waited another month or two to make sure that there was a very clear, consistent, well, ready to be executed plan for the back end. I think we hit about a month where we had to, all hands on deck, get the sustainability plan executed. So that's probably the one thing I would have done differently in the process, is delayed that just a bit to get that in a really good spot initially. It's in a great place now. As far as some of the result that we're seeing from this, our friendliness scores for the organization are at an all-time high, which is incredible for us. We're actually actively diving now into some of the financial metrics and business metrics as a part of this, but we know when we're seeing increases in friendliness, frankly, our check-in experience is no longer our top problem area, so we know that that has an element to this as well, the engagement we're creating there. We've also seen a significant number, this is probably the metric we weren't anticipating to see, or didn't even have it on the radar, frankly. In our post-stay survey, our guests can ask, or we asked them the last question, was there any employee that provided an exceptional experience for you? If so, will you tell us about it? We have seen a double-digit lift in the number of guests filling out that question with employees' names across the organization, which, I'll be honest, that's probably the greatest testament to our employees owning this now that we know we're creating singular moments for people that we weren't before, and increasing that twofold is fantastic.
Anybody else? So great. Just one quick question. So fundamentally, I know externally we know things, how the evolution is happening, but was there a need of redefining the name brand of MGM?
There was.
Internally, I mean,
yeah, no,
externally,
there was because
externally we wouldn't be able to see it, but internally you would be redefining because you're in a phases of,
Yep.
evolution. So
yeah, I'll tell you, the greatest need was really because the thing I led off with my presentation. When you say you work at MGM Resorts, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I love the green building." We needed to make sure the world knew we were much bigger than that, and a much bigger animal at the end of the day. So that was kind of where it all came from.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.